Now, why did our ancestors believe that the earth was flat and that the sun was moving? Not moving. Sun was static. Earth was, sort of, sun was moving or not?
Yes.
From rising in the east and then going to the set. So there's a movement of sun also. So why did they believe like that?
Based on whatever they are seeing.
What they can see in real life.
They can see.
No, she was saying something.
Lack of knowledge among the people, and also the people can't go outside of the world and see the earth size
From
or
above.
the shape from outside.
Yeah. So that belief continued for years. And I remember the tragic plight of Bruno, who was burned alive for saying that earth was, round. And even in the time of Aristotle, that belief system continued for thousands of years. Now, what about our belief about learning a language? What is a popular belief about human child learning mother tongue? What do people believe about learning language?
Through imitation and repetition.
Through imitation. So, imitating whom?
Imitating the mothers or the
All right.
people around them.
Yeah. So, this is a very strong belief. The child learns a language through imitation, okay, and also through repetition, repeating the same thing again and again. And in those days, it was believed that the mind is like an empty slate. A very serious question is there: does the newborn child know anything about language? Now, probably we know. But most people do not know that. Okay? So they believe that everything regarding language comes from outside. It's so in the case of mother tongue, and it is naturally so in the case of English also, because there is no speech community around. There is no one to imitate also. So through imitation and repetition, if mother tongue is learned, you have to provide the same situation in the classroom for imitating and repeating the same thing. And precisely that has been happening in the classrooms also, how children are doing that. So there are certain belief systems promoted by a certain school of thought. Today we call them the behaviorist schools kind of thing. Let's see what these assumptions are. I'll just, you can look at the screen. The child's mind is like an empty slate, which is tabula rasa, which gets filled with experience from the speech community. Language is a behavioral manifestation which can be counted in terms of stimulus and response. Now we are just talking about the belief systems promoted by the behavioral schools. Language is a baggage of language elements like sounds, letters or structures, functions, idioms, usages, etc. Language is a skill subject as against subjects like physics or chemistry, which are known as content subjects. Okay? And language, a skill subject, means it is manifested through the skills like listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We are very familiar with that, LSRW. Now, if the students make some errors, these errors are to be corrected as and when they are made. Otherwise, they will be negatively reinforced. And once it is negatively reinforced, it will be difficult to get rid of these errors. So these are the popular beliefs, and these beliefs were strengthened by behavioral school of psychology. Not only that, there was a kind of philosophy called empiricism. You can see the name of John Locke behind that, who says that the mind is a tabula rasa. Okay. So in fact, there are three schools of thought which converge now. On the one hand, there was a behaviorist school, and then the empiricists, and also the structuralists, who explain the structure of sentence. So these things had a very strong influence on designing the curriculum, designing the textbooks, and deciding the methodology for teaching language. And if you remember, in your school days, probably you were studying something called graded series of textbooks. The idea is that some structures and vocabulary items are introduced in lower classes. The higher you go up, there will be more number of structures and more number of vocabulary items. And these things are put into the lesson, and there are questions on that, questions related to vocabulary, grammar, everything. And ultimately it is believed that by learning these elements of language like structures or usages or idioms, the learners will be able to use language. This was the way how these schools of thought, behaviorism and empiricism and structuralism, influenced the whole course of language teaching. Now, this situation changed when in 1957 Noam Chomsky came out with a claim on human languages, saying that the language is a genetic endowment for human beings. It's not that language is coming from outside, but every child is equipped with a language device. In earlier days it was named as language acquisition device. Today we call it the universal grammar. It's not the grammar of any particular language, but possibly the grammar of all possible human languages. Okay. Now let's try to understand some of the claims in this innateness theory of Chomsky. You can listen to a talk by Chomsky. You
want to look at language as a normal biological system, some module of the organism. Then the standard questions for any module arise at once, roughly speaking, what, how, and why questions. What are the properties of the acquired system, each one regarded as an internal system of an individual? How are these properties acquired? And why do they have these properties and not some other properties? Well, perhaps the most elementary property of human language is that it consists of a discrete infinity of interpretable expressions. So there's 5-word sentences, and 6-word sentences, and no 5.5-word sentence, and it goes on indefinitely like the integers. Now that's kind of unusual. There's nothing like that known.